exposing the failures that led to Emily Pike's tragic murder. The brutal murder of 14-year-old Emily Pike is not just an isolated tragedy.
Emily Pike was last seen near this intersection of Mesa and McKellips at a nearby convenience store. Her missing persons poster still hangs in the door. Community members telling us they were hopeful for a safe return for the 14-year-old, not this tragic outcome of her death. People in Mesa who've been heartsick for a young girl missing for a month.
It's really sad. The world is crazy nowadays.
Now heartbroken to learn Emily Pike is dead.
When we found out about it, it was horrible. I have 3 baby girls as well.
The 14-year-old was last seen in her neighborhood around 7:45 the evening of January 27th. Her body found on February 14th off Highway 60 northeast of Globe, according to the Gila County Sheriff's Office.
We got a call from some passerbys, and that's what got us out there.
Before the remains were identified as Emily's, an internal memo from the Sheriff's Office leaked on Facebook. That memo, now removed, described a young Native American girl's body had been dismembered.
We are working with our tribal partners on it.
Near the busy intersection where the 14-year-old from the San Carlos Apache tribe disappeared, Lucio Meneses runs a restaurant inside a gas station. He says someone who knew Emily brought missing persons flyers into the store.
You know, he just came and brought flyers out and asked if we know her. We seen the house, like, automatically on my hard drive. I was like, it's horrible. We've seen her come in and out. She was a member of the community, very caring, looks like a very caring little girl.
Meneses is now having tough conversations with his 6-year-old daughter.
Just like, Dad, well, what do I do now? Said, well, you stay close to home, you know, you keep your parents in mind. And, you know, me and my wife even thought about, getting her some kind of tracking device or, a little necklace or a phone.
In Mesa, Jane Caffrey, ABC 15, Arizona.
Exposing the failures that led to Emily Pike's tragic murder. The brutal murder of 14-year-old Emily Pike is not just an isolated tragedy. It is the consequence of systemic failures, negligence, and a broken system that allows vulnerable children to disappear, suffer, and die. Emily's case is a horrifying indictment of group homes that are meant to serve as safe havens, but have instead become sites of neglect, endangerment, and death. The troubled industry of for-profit group homes. The group home where Emily Pike lived before her disappearance is part of a deeply flawed system that profits from housing at-risk children while providing little oversight or protection. These facilities often receive funding from state and federal programs, meaning that taxpayer money is being funneled into a system with shockingly little accountability. The Arizona Department of Child Safety, DCS, has placed thousands of children in group homes over the past decade. Yet many of these homes have histories of abuse, neglect, and missing person cases. Who owns these homes? Are they part of a larger for-profit network exploiting the system for financial gain? How much funding do these facilities receive? And where is that money going? Who is getting rich while vulnerable children disappear? The group home's disturbing record of missing persons cases. Records reveal that in just the past 3 years, at least 89 calls were made to the police regarding this group home in Mesa, Arizona. 42 of these calls were for missing persons, and 30 resulted in police reports. A shocking statistic that points to an environment of instability, negligence, and danger. Between 18 juveniles and 2 adults, several individuals went missing multiple times, yet this group home continued to operate without intervention. How many more children must vanish before this house of horrors is shut down? Emily Pike was not an outlier. She was one of many who vanished from this facility. How many of them were truly runaways, and how many were failed by a system that left them vulnerable to predators? The horror of Emily's disappearance and murder. Emily was last seen on January 27th, walking away from the group home. She was reported as a missing runaway and remained missing for over 2 weeks. On February 14th, her dismembered remains were found in a remote area off Highway 60 near Globe, Arizona. A leaked memo from the Gila County Sheriff's Office exposed the horrifying details. Her head and torso were found in trash bags, and parts of her body are still missing. This is not just a murder. It is a monstrous crime that should send shockwaves through every level of government, law enforcement, and child protection services. Yet, despite the horror, there have been no arrests. How does a 14-year-old girl disappear from a state-approved facility, end up dismembered miles away, and yet authorities act as though this is just another statistic? The deafening silence from those in charge. The group home's CEO refused to comment when reached by the media, offering only a vague assurance that they are prioritizing the children who still live at the home. This meaningless statement does nothing to address the pattern of disappearances, the failure to protect Emily, or the conditions that allowed her to be taken and killed. Meanwhile, the Arizona Department of Child Safety, DCS, released a statement absolving the group home of blame, stating that they do not believe any actions or inactions led to Emily's death. How can a facility with 30 documented missing persons cases not bear responsibility when yet another child disappears and is later found dismembered? Where is the accountability? Where is the outrage? Why does this system allow these tragedies to continue? The systemic neglect of Indigenous children. Emily Pike was a member of the San Carlos Apache tribe. Her death is part of a larger crisis, the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women and people, MMIWP. For years, Native families have pleaded for stronger protections, justice for missing loved ones, and immediate action when Indigenous children go missing. The silence surrounding Emily's case is the same silence that has allowed thousands of Indigenous women and girls to vanish without a trace. A bill, HB 2281, which would create an alert system for missing Indigenous people, is now advancing in the Arizona Senate. But why did it take a brutal murder like Emily's for lawmakers to act? If an Amber Alert had been issued for Emily the moment she vanished, could she have been found before it was too late? No justice yet, but we must demand it. Emily's case remains unsolved. The Gila County Sheriff's Office claims they have leads, but there have been no arrests. There is no closure for her family, no accountability for those who failed her, and no assurances that another vulnerable child won't meet the same fate. Yet the group home where she disappeared remains open. The system that failed her remains unchanged, and Emily Pike's killers walk free. This cannot stand. We must demand justice for Emily Pike. The immediate closure of this group home and a full investigation into all missing persons cases linked to it. Criminal charges against those responsible, not just for Emily's murder, but for the institutional neglect that led to it. Sweeping reform in Arizona's foster care and group home system, with stricter oversight and accountability measures. A full federal investigation into the crisis of missing Indigenous women and children, with real consequences for failures in law enforcement response. Emily Pike's story should shake this country to its core, but the outrage cannot stop at words. It must translate into action, justice, and permanent change. We must not let Emily become another forgotten victim. Rest in power, Emily Pike. Your story